Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to the Reiner Project. And Russell, we have finally gotten to A Few Good Men. This is my first time. We've talked about this. My first time watch, your first time watch, and I think, man, if
Yeah,
this is the end of the Reiner Golden Age, then he definitely went out on a bang.
yeah, for real. Looking forward to talking about this. Yeah, kind of crazy. It was both like not on our radars this whole entire time. We only had 34 years to watch this movie. So yeah, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we got it, and I'm glad we got to watch it. So I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into it. This is A Few Good Men.
One man will stop at nothing to keep his honor, and one will stop at nothing to find the truth.
This was released in 1992, is based on the play written by Aaron Sorkin, who also wrote the screenplay for this. Starred Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, the Kevins of Bacon and Pollock, and Kiefer Sutherland, and more. It tells the story of a lawyer named Lieutenant Dano Caffey, played by Tom Cruise, who is roped into a very thorny case in which a hazing ritual went horribly wrong on, of all places, Guantanamo Bay, which watching that now just is
Yeah,
amazing to think about, but we'll touch on that when we get there. But becomes co-counsel with Lieutenant Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway, played by Demi Moore, and his assistant, played by Kevin Pollock, and they eventually just have to go through the entire case by themselves. And yeah, I mean, just this movie's just I can barely find the words for it. It's just fantastic. Like I just like as soon as it was over, Russell, I just was like, yeah, no wonder why people call this like one of the greatest, because this is one of the greatest of not only Reiner's career, but like of all time. Like legal thrillers try to copy this all the time and they just pretty much fail.
yeah. No, I love legal thrillers, and it's crazy that Tom Cruise goes to and he's in the firm a year or two later, which is crazy. So he liked the whole legal film aspect. But yeah, no, this was like pretty much like a who's who of the time frame. Like you had obviously early '90s. Nobody was bigger than Jack Nicholson. 3 years after Batman, probably still
Mhm.
the A-list actor that he obviously still is. Or was at the time. Demi Moore, who was a couple years removed from Ghost, had a huge 1990s. Obviously with like later on with GI Jane, striptease, like she was everywhere. And then you had Kevin Pollock, who was in like the Grumpy Old Men series. So you had him. He was always being like a supporting actor in different films, never really headlining, but I mean he was always working. Kevin Bacon, who's literally in everything. It was nice to see Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, but like I said, I mean, this was like so huge. These were like big power names, and even I think what JT Walsh, J. Emmett Walsh, or JT was it JT Walsh or J. Emmett
JT,
Walsh? JT Walsh,
JT.
yeah, JT Walsh, who also was in Breakdown. That's such a great film. With Kurt Russell. Anyway, he's such a great actor too, who tragically like passed away like young too. But yeah, I mean, it just really shows the type of caliber actors and actresses that Rob Reiner could get to work with, and it was just completely crazy. So having this, and then Sorkin, obviously, always known for such his dialogue and just his attention to detail in his writing. I think just it speaks volumes.
Well, another thing is that the movie is over 2 hours long. It's 2 hours and like 28 minutes long. It's two and a half.
Yeah.
So on paper, this should be a drag, but no, it just flies by. Like from the moment you first see Guantanamo to the final you can't handle the truth and you're goddamn right I did, and just
Yeah.
everything in between, just riveting stuff throughout.
The other crazy thing I thought about when watching this movie is the lack of screen time. Jack Nicholson was on screen and got
Yeah.
an Academy Award nomination for it, which is kind of completely crazy thinking about that because he was not on the screen very long or in the movie very long.
By my count, it's 3 scenes.
I was going to say not even 10 minutes. Yeah.
By my count, he's in his office talking to Kiefer Sutherland and J.T. Walsh. He's talking to the council, like the various, well, actually 4, because there's one inside and one outside. So that technically is 4.
Yeah.
And then the final scene at the end.
Yeah.
But his presence, you just feel it. It's like Hannibal Lecter. Like Anthony Hopkins wasn't on screen a ton for Silence of the Lambs, but you just felt him throughout. And like as soon as you see Colonel Nathan Jessup, you're just like, yeah, I don't like you. Like he just like is omnipresent throughout. And that, I guess that speaks to the power of Nicholson, or perhaps the writing of Sorkin, or Reiner's direction, or perhaps all 3. I'm willing to bet all 3.
Yeah, for sure. Nicholson, according to Google search here, 16 to 20 minutes of screen time total. So that just shows you the caliber acting. Obviously, Nicholson puts in, but with the writing from Sorkin, the direction of Reiner, I mean, I think it's just it's a perfect match.
But the more that I see of Tom Cruise in like various eras of his career, the more I unironically like him as an actor. Like everyone, like everyone likes to paint him as like Ethan Hunt or Maverick, but yeah, like throughout the 80s and 90s, he was doing some wild stuff. Like he was going from one director to the other, being like, I am yours, show me what to do. And he just was working with everybody. And here, he's like Maverick, but if he was a lawyer. And that's like the best compliment that I could give. Like even down to the father issues, which are there, they're present, but they're not like omnipresent. I think the thing that I liked the most was just, it's this little detail of like, he's a lawyer, but he doesn't want to go in a courtroom. Like there's a part where he's like, so this is what it looks like. And like, how are you a lawyer and you've never been in a courtroom? I think part of him is kind of afraid. And there's the whole like legacy of his father being a great lawyer and maybe not wanting to live that down. And there's the whole, he didn't want to be a lawyer in the first place, but he's really good at it. So there's a lot going on. But it's just all so interesting that no matter what your guess is, you're probably like, yeah, you're probably right.
Well, yeah, and even to talk about, Tom Cruise's like, just in working with everybody. I rewatched Risky Business, and it's hard to believe like we've seen. That's such a great film too. But just to see like how he just kind of matured as an actor, just like not even 10 years later, he's in this film, and then like he goes on and has a massive 90s, 2000s, and then thereafter he's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So like, but no, kind of what you're saying with him, like his character, obviously is living in the shadows of his father, and he's almost afraid to take a chance because of the fact that he doesn't want to risk losing and have that blemish on his record. Like they bragged where he did like 44 cases where he just pretty much, they were like plea litigations and stuff like that. So he really didn't have to go into a court setting because he was so good at talking and kind of like, getting his way with that he didn't really have to do any actual trials until then. And then you obviously have Demi Moore's character, who I would like to have seen her head the case but don't get me wrong, Cruise was great in this, but I wish she would have had the case with kind of him as like the co-anchor, just because I thought, her character is just so, strong and trying to prove that she can, handle the type of litigations that, in a courtroom setting and stuff like that. Being a JAG, obviously being a lawyer in the Navy and stuff like that. I think that would have been kind of cool just to see that a little bit, but don't get me wrong. The way they do it with, obviously Cruise being the lead counsel, I mean, it's fantastic, but I would have not minded to see Demi Moore head that off and then kind of have like, obviously like a supporting character with Cruise and Pollock's, expertise as well.
Yeah, when I heard JAG, my first thought was the TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like I guess like the Navy is like the most TV friendly like brand of the military out there, because you got NCIS, which is Naval Criminal Investigative Service. So I don't know. I guess there's something to look into with that, but it just stuck out to me. And I mean, Demi Moore's been great for years. A couple years after this, she was in G.I. Jane, which is one of Ridley Scott's more underrated films, in my opinion.
100%. I agree too.
Like, she was just in The Substance a couple years ago, so the Demi Moore Azance is afoot, and she was amazing in that.
Yeah.
But
fantastic at that, yeah.
She's been great for years. That's my point.
And then she's big, obviously, now in was it Land? No, the one with Landman. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I know like it gets such great reviews. I love Billy Bob Thornton. Definitely a show I want to check out. But anyway, she's in it, so like she's still like she's really like coming like the Demi Moore Renaissance. It's kind of like the Brendan Fraser Renaissance. Kind of great to see.
It's the small things with her, though, that I really liked, where she's walking in to be like, I want to be solo on this. She's going over like what she's going to say, and she still messes up. And I felt so sorry for her when that happened. But it's those little details where you're just like, she's not a robot. She's like kind of like repeating like what she wants to say. And even then she kind of screws it up. It's the little things. And then kind of parlaying that into the other members of the cast. You got Kevin Pollak, who I did not expect to be this good here, but he is really good. There's like a complexity there where he's trying to defend these two Marines, but he doesn't like them because they killed Santiago. They were following orders, but they still did the deed. And he's like, they picked on a weakling, and I will never forgive that. And like, wow, I felt that. I really felt that right here. And then you got Kevin Bacon, who's the prosecutor, but he believes that they were innocent. So there's like this whole complexity thing of there's no black or white. It's all shades of gray. But it's done so well that you don't notice it until you're thinking about it.
Well, yeah, and then you bounce back and forth like between like, are they guilty or are they innocent? Like, where do you stand, like morality wise, I guess, because they at the end of the day they were just simply following an order that was given to them. So they were being a true like soldier, basically a true Marine to take a command and run with it like that. So you were doing what you were told. You were being obedient, you know.
And even the Marines who are on the stand are interesting. Like Wolfgang Bodison is great here. Like he has a couple great moments where it's like when they learn that they're being dishonorably discharged, it's like they don't know how to handle it. Like being a Marine is all they've ever known, and that's all they ever wanted to do, and now they can't do it anymore. But
yeah, you feel bad for the one character though. I feel like he's just a little slower, like mentally. I think he's just slower. Just you get that vibe from him. You have to talk to him real slow because then he gets really overwhelmed. Like there's a spot in the courtroom scene where he's getting interrogated and questioned, and he looks over to his buddy, and his buddy's the one just says answer the question or whatever, just to kind of like relax him. Just because I think and I don't know if it's because of the combat that he is like this. You know, you don't really know much about, you know, his character in full. You know what I mean? It could be shades of PTSD from being in the military and the Marines and having that, you know, that rigorous training and war combat and stuff like that. But you kind of see his character's a little bit slower, whereas the other one wants to be a lifer, wants to be in it forever, like because that's all he knows, and that's where he feels purpose. And I like the scene where Cruz tells him that he doesn't have to wear a patch on his shirt to command respect or to be a leader or whatever.
I love that. That's one of my favorite lines in the movie. I thought that was great. And then you got Christopher Guest, who is a Rob Reiner regular as the doctor. He has one scene, but it was like, is that Christopher Guest? And sure enough, it was. Then you got Cuba Gooding Jr., who gets in the one scene, but he's also in there.
Which is another military movie. He does what, Men of War? Was it Men of War?
Honor, I think.
Or Men of Honor. Yeah, there were so many military movies, like war military movies, and there's just so many of them to keep straight. But yeah, it was crazy to see him come in too.
But everyone remembers like the titular court scene, which like you can't handle the truth and all that, and that scene is genuinely phenomenal stuff. I love that scene to death. Probably Rob Reiner's finest work. But everything leading up to that is so interesting too, because you get Kafib like at the softball field, like talking down the other officer is like a dime bag of weed, or sorry, oregano.
Oregano, yeah.
I love that part. And then you got the stuff with Markinson, which is legitimately interesting, and sad about what happened to him. Just genuinely enthralling stuff there. And you got the whole scene where when Downey when Downey gets the slip up with the whole thing, and then Caffey gets drunk and he's like, he does the crash out to end all crash outs, and he's like, what's their prize? A trip to I can't do it justice. It's just great stuff. And see lines of dialogue that get referenced in the beginning or brought up, like Caffey brings up one thing about, I get a certain number, I get a set of steak knives.
Yeah, if you get 45, you get a set of steak knives.
And then Galloway is like, sorry, I cost you your steak knives, as she is leaving. Just fantastic stuff. And I can't properly there's stuff that I could reference, like these big things, big and small, just in the lead up to it, and just like Kiefer Sutherland, how he's just like Jessup's little disciple, like he's just genuinely unnerving there, and just I could go on for days and days.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a perfect blend of tight writing. Obviously, it's a Sorkin staple. Like even I think he did Molly's Game too.
Molly's Game is mad underrated. I will defend.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie. That's some great acting. Chastain's great in that.
Some Kevin Costner's unironic best work is that scene where he talks to Jessica Chastain outside the skate rink, and and he says I'm hiring someone to kill those people, and she's like, don't even joke about that. I don't care if it's the leader of Hamas. They're gonna suffer. It just phenomenal stuff from Costner. But if we if we do the Sorkin project, we'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. And then he was in he did Wind River too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And that's another mad underrated film too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I think just at the end of the day, this is just, man, I feel like Reiner saved his best for last potentially, because the past 4 or 5 films we've covered, from his first one, Spinal Tap, up to now, he's it's been all hits, no misses, and this is the one that he finally hit the prime. This is getting an amazing grade from me. Yeah. No notes, 10 out of 10. Just.
Yeah, no, it's a masterclass. I mean, it's a great film. And it's a different genre. He's going into a legal thriller type genre now. So obviously we're coming off the horror film. We're going into, we're coming off of Misery, and we're going into something completely different now. You know what I mean? So he's just testing the waters of different, just different genres of film.
Yeah, and if you think the collapse is coming, it's not necessarily a collapse. It's more of what they think the earthquake is going to look like when Yellowstone erupts. But that's another story for a couple weeks' time. What did you all think of A Few Good Men? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. And Russell, it's a privilege to do this with you every week. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find us Notorious by Chance. We just released our latest episode, The Avengers, with Craig Gagne. If you watch the Schmodown, he competed in the Schmodown as well. Really cool kid. Fellow Michigan fan as well. He actually went to Michigan. So anyway, so you can hear us, go on and on about the Avengers to end phase 1, which I think was a really great episode. It came out. And after this, I will be shooting with Chance, and I are going to be doing Devil Wears Prada for our Meryl Streep episode. It was between that and Death Becomes Her. Devil Wears Prada ends up stealing it away. I don't know if it's because Devil Wears Prada 2 comes out this week. I don't know. But anyway, rewatched that, enjoyed that. So looking forward to talking about that as well. And you guys can find us Notorious by Chance on YouTube as well.
Yep, follow them down below. As far as this channel goes, in 2 weeks' time, we will return to the Reiner Project, and, well, the streak is over. We're talking about North. Just pray for our sanity in advance. But next week, we will return to the horror movie Iceberg. We will continue our ongoing project of reviewing all the VHS movies, and next up is VHS 85. But for Russell, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care.